Hello, welcome to Phantom Homicide, then the topic. John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown and the suburban monster.
That name, John Wayne Gacy, it just immediately brings up this stark contradiction, doesn't it?
It really does. You've got civic pride on one hand and then just absolute unimaginable horror on the other.
Exactly. And today, as we really get into this deep dive,
Yeah.
looking at the sources you've provided, our mission, I think, is to examine not just, the timeline of the murders.
Which is horrific enough.
Absolutely. But also the incredible, the terrifying architecture of the mask Gacy built.
Yeah.
How he hid his true nature in plain sight.
Yeah, the gravity here is just...
Yeah.
You can't overstate it. We are looking at one of the most notorious, truly terrifying figures in American criminal history. A man who engineered this elaborate facade, total respectability.
Right.
He was the successful contractor, the community guy, the man shaking hands with the first lady, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that picture.
But underneath all that,
Yep.
beneath that perfectly crafted image, a hidden graveyard. The domain of a sadist.
Responsible for the sexual assault, the torture, and ultimately the murder of at least 33 young men and boys between, 72 and 78?
That's the time frame, and that duality, that idea that a man could exist as both things simultaneously.
The pillar of society and the monster.
That's why this case just stays with you. It's profoundly disturbing.
He didn't just hide the bodies, did he? He wove the act of murder into the very fabric of his daily life.
Think about the scale of it. All his known murders committed inside that ordinary ranch house in Norwood Park Township.
26 victims buried directly in the crawl space. Tiny, cramped crawl space under the floorboards.
That's just...
And 3 others hidden elsewhere on his property. And then, because the house literally ran out of room,
He had to start using the river.
4 victims discarded in the Des Plaines River because his house was full.
26 human beings buried beneath the floor of a suburban home. It just freezes your blood.
It does.
But to understand how that mask held up for so long, we really need to go back, right, to the beginning. The making of the monster.
Gacy was born March 17th, 1942. And right from the start, his life was really defined by the psychological damage from his father, John Stanley Gacy.
Okay. What was a father like?
He was a World War I veteran, an alcoholic, worked as an auto repair machinist. And he basically ruled the house through constant abuse, physical and verbal.
The abuse wasn't just physical, though the sources say Gacy's earliest memory was actually a beating, age 4.
Right. But it's the psychological stuff, too, aimed directly at Gacy's sense of self, his masculinity.
The sources detail the father constantly calling him dumb and stupid, cruelly questioning his gender identity, calling him sissy, mama's boy, even saying he'd probably grow up queer. Just relentless.
And that constant torment from his father created this lifelong, desperate need in Gacy, this insatiable need for approval.
He actually loved his father, didn't he? Despite all that.
He did, but he always felt never good enough. That internal conflict that just fueled his later drive to overcompensate, in the community.
And he had health issues too, right? Which didn't help with his father?
No, not at all. He had a congenital heart condition. A burst appendix led to frequent blackouts.
Ah.
Between 14 and 18, he spent almost a year in the hospital, on and off.
And the father...
Weaponized it. Openly accused him of faking it. Said he was just trying to skip school, which just isolated Gacy even more.
Yeah.
Compounded the low grades and the feeling of being an outcast.
We see that psychological fracture really deepening when he leaves home at 18. There was some minor fight over car keys.
Yeah, just shows the father still trying to control him. Gacy heads off to Las Vegas in 1960, tries working in an ambulance service.
Doesn't last long.
No. Then he moves to Palm Mortuary, works as an attendant for about 3 months, and he's actually sleeping behind the embalming room.
Okay, and this is where things take a really dark turn, isn't it? The early deviance.
This period is absolutely critical because it shows his mechanism for dealing with that powerlessness he felt growing up.
What happened there?
He confessed later, climbing into the coffin of a teenage boy one night, embracing the body, caressing it. He said he felt shock, but also this deep, dark realization he could dominate the helpless dead.
No resistance.
Exactly. He later claimed 2 acts of necrophilia there, calling the bodies, and this is chilling, just dead things who couldn't tell anybody.
That anonymity, that absolute control, it gave him a perverse sense of power he couldn't get anywhere else.
It seems like it. That was the catalyst. It prompted his return home.
So he comes back to Chicago, finishes business college, and then immediately starts building that first public facade.
Yeah.
In Iowa, right? Waterloo.
Yes. Married Marlon Myers in 1964. becomes really successful managing 3 KFC restaurants. His father-in-law owned them.
And this facade, it was all about getting that validation his own father never gave him.
Meticulously built for that purpose. Gacy called this time perfect. He had the stable home life, the financial success, and crucially, in 1966, his father finally acknowledged him.
Really? What'd he say?
Something like, "Son, I was wrong about you." That rare moment of approval.
All right.
It just solidified Gacy's belief that the mask, the success, the respectability, that was the only way.
And he didn't just stick to work, did he? He threw himself into civic life, too.
Oh, completely. Joined the local Jaycees, got lauded for fundraising, made everyone call him Colonel.
Overcompensation.
Textbook, driven by that deep childhood insecurity.
But even inside that respectable world, the darkness was there.
Absolutely. The source material shows that even within that Jaycees social circle, he was into drug abuse, pornography, prostitutes, even wife swapping.
So the public face was virtue, but the private reality was already
degenerate. And that private reality finally spills out. His first big public fall, 1968.
The assault on Donald Voorhees Jr., 15 years old, son of another Gacy.
Right. Gacy lures him over, promises stag films, but it quickly turns into sexual coercion. And Gacy, the manipulator,
Tries to explain it away.
yeah, told investigators it was just a test of morals. Unbelievable.
But what really shows the calculation, the psychopathy, isn't just the assault itself, it's what he did next.
The cover-up. Cold-blooded. After Voorhees told his father, Gacy hired an 18-year-old employee, Russell Schroeder, paid him $300.
To do what?
Track Voorhees down, assault him with mace, beat him up, to stop him testifying.
So this wasn't heat of the moment. This was planned violence. Using other people to keep his own hands clean. Already.
Already using money, using employees to cover his tracks. It's all there.
The psychiatric evaluations back then, during the indictment for sodomy, they diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder, right?
They did.
Right.
Which today, we'd probably equate with extreme psychopathy, maybe sociopathy.
What's the difference, really?
Well, very broadly, sociopathy is often seen as more environmentally driven, whereas psychopathy seems more innate, marked by that meticulous control, manipulation, which Gacy had in spades.
And the prognosis wasn't good.
No. They said he was unlikely to benefit from treatment.
He gets sentenced to 10 years, Anamosa State Penitentiary, but he only serves 18 months.
Paroled in 1970, and that prison time wasn't rehabilitation. It was like training camp for him.
How so?
He becomes a model prisoner, rises to head cook, takes over the inmate Jaycees chapter, expands it massively from 50 members to 650.
He even built a mini golf course.
He did. It's chilling. It wasn't about getting better. It was about refining his skills. Manipulation, compartmentalization, charismatic control. He came out of prison far more dangerous and far better at wearing the mask.
Okay, so Gacy gets out on parole in 1970, and he immediately starts building Fortress Number 2, stronger this time.
That's right. Moves in with his mom for a bit, but by 71, he buys the house. 8213 West Summerdale Avenue, ranch-style house.
The house. That became his suburban stage, and ultimately his killing floor.
That house was the physical core of everything, wasn't it? Yeah. So unassuming. Respectable neighborhood, working-class Chicago suburb. It anchored his business, too. PDM contractors.
Painting, decorating, and maintenance. And it was successful, right?
Hugely successful. Pulling in, over $200,000 a year by 1978? Big money back then.
But the business. It wasn't just about money. It was the mechanism for his predation, wasn't it? This is where the mask directly served the monster.
Exactly. PDM gave him this legitimate, constant pipeline. Vulnerable, young, male employees.
He targeted specific types.
Yeah, he seemed to. High school kids, young men, often from troubled backgrounds, maybe transient, less likely to be reported missing quickly.
And he used the job itself as bait.
Right. Offered legitimate work, often good pay, like $5 an hour, which was double what some kids were making. Capitalized on their need for money, maybe their lack of supervision.
And this professional mask, it was protected by this, you called it an impenetrable civic shield. He learned from Iowa.
He absolutely learned his lesson. The deeper he embedded himself in the community, the harder it was for anyone to suspect him.
And his civic involvement was almost manic.
It really was. Local Democratic politics precinct captain, hosting these huge annual summer parties. Hundreds of people.
Up to 400 attendees. Politicians, police officers.
All mingling at his house. And the ultimate symbol of that installation, that photo, 1978.
Supervising the Polish Constitution Day parade.
And gets snapped, shaking hands with First Lady Rosalind Carter.
That photo must have been a nightmare later for the Secret Service.
Oh, undoubtedly. It just proved how deeply he'd woven himself into the fabric of perceived normalcy, even power, while doing these horrific things.
And then there's Pogo the Clown. That persona became so linked to the case, it wasn't just a weird hobby, was it?
No, it seems integral to his psychology. He joined the Jolly Joker Clown Club around late 75, developed two personas, Pogo the happy one, and Patches, more serious.
And he said it allowed him to, what, regress?
Regress into childhood, were his words. A safe space, maybe, where he felt unjudged, in control.
The irony is just grotesque.
Isn't it? Entertaining sick kids in hospitals, doing public service, using that painted face to build trust, seemed harmless. All while he was escalating his murders at home. The killer clown name is so potent because the mask was his ultimate weapon.
Let's shift to the how, the operational details, because his methods seem consistent, all about control and a specific kind of sadism.
The modus operandi was refined, yeah.
Yeah.
And chillingly effective. He'd lure victims home various ways.
The PDM job offer.
Right. Or offers of drugs, alcohol, money for sex. Sometimes even pretending to be a cop, flashing a badge, maybe using red lights on his Oldsmobile.
And once inside the house.
Gain their confidence, build some trust. And then usually it led to the handcuff illusion.
Tell us about that. It sounds almost like a party trick, but it was the point of no return.
Exactly. He'd cuff his own hands first, then slip out using a hidden key. Make it look easy.
Showing off?
Yeah. Then offer to show the victim the trick. Cuff them, usually behind their back. And once those cuffs clicked,
Victim secured.
Yeah.
Helpless.
The illusion was over. Instantly, the mask dropped. The torture began.
And the method of murder itself, the rope trick. That's signature Gacy.
His specific tool for domination. He'd use a rope tourniquet, often nylon cord, around the victim's neck, then use a hammer handle or maybe a wooden dowel to tighten the loop. Progressively.
Maximum terror.
He'd often whisper things like, "This is the last trick." And the source material, Gacy's confessions, indicate the whole process, that agonizing struggle. It gave him a mind-numbing orgasm.
It wasn't just strangulation, though, was it? The methods showed he wanted more. Escalation, control.
Oh, definitely. The sexual assault, the torture, it was extensive. Forceful fellatio, cigar burns, various restraints.
And that 2x4 device.
Yes, the restraint board. Apparently inspired by Dean Corll, the Houston mass murderer.
So he was studying other killers, learning.
It suggests that, doesn't it? He wasn't just acting on impulse. He was actively researching, refining methods of sadism and domination to enhance his control, his perverse pleasure.
And the psychological torture.
Intense. Partly drowning victims in the bathtub, then reviving them, sometimes forcing them to look in a mirror during the abuse. This wasn't about a quick kill. It was about prolonged, calculated, absolute domination.
So the frequency of the murders really picks up after his second marriage ends. Divorce finalized March 76. Carol, his wife, she found things right. Gay porn, men's wallets.
Yeah, she was getting suspicious. Once she was gone, once he was alone in that house, the burrow, it was like the floodgates open.
That's a classic pattern, isn't it? Remove that last internal check, the spouse.
And the escalation can be massive. He basically had free reign. The murders became almost horrifically routine.
His first known victim, Timothy McCoy, the Greyhound busboy, that was earlier 72, buried separately under concrete.
Right. But the systematic disposal in the crawl space, that really kicks into high gear around 1976.
And the neighbors, they started noticing things, subtle signs that something was deeply wrong next door.
They recalled seeing young men coming and going, strange hours. Gacy moving his car early in the morning. And most chillingly, hearing muffled sounds, high-pitched screaming, shouting, crying from the house over years.
But they dismissed it.
Seems like it. Probably because Gacy's mask, that civic respectability, it was just so strong. The community subconsciously registered the horror, maybe, but couldn't reconcile it with the man they thought they knew.
The pace was just relentless. 1976 alone, you have victims like Daryl Sampson, Michael Bonin, William Carroll, Rick Johnston, James Hawkinson. And that grim detail about Gregory Godzik. Killed December 76.
Gregory Godzik, 17 years old. PDM employee. Gacy had forced him to dig trenches in the crawl space.
Under the guise of house maintenance.
Exactly. He was basically making his victims, or his employees, prepare the mass grave he intended to fill.
And Godzik himself ended up in there.
Body 4. Later buried beneath John Allen Sayek, who was body 3. The way he layered them, stacked them.
Yeah.
It just speaks to the sheer volume and his desperation to conceal the evidence.
The sheer volume, the logistics. It leads straight to that really disturbing question. Did he have help? Accomplices? Gacy himself seemed to hint at it.
He certainly did. Right after his arrest, he asks investigators pretty provocatively if my associates had been arrested.
And there are circumstances that make you wonder.
There are. Take Rahr Gilroy's murder, September 77.
Yeah.
Gacy's travel records put him in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, supervising a job the day Gilroy vanished.
So how could he have done it?
It suggests either an employee with a key committed the murder, or Gacy somehow coordinated it while away, or the timeline is slightly off, but the alibi seems strong.
And later, during his appeals, he explicitly blamed others, didn't he?
Yes, he claimed only 5 murders were his. The other 28, committed by employees with keys. He named names, like Cram and Rossi.
But the evidence points overwhelmingly to Gacy, right?
It does. But the possibility that others knew something, or maybe helped in a lesser way, it just adds another layer of darkness.
But the people who really started to pull at the threads of the mask were the survivors, men who actually escaped.
2 known survivor accounts were absolutely crucial. Though tragically, the police didn't act decisively on the first one. Robert Donnelly.
What happened to him?
19 years old, college student. Abducted at gunpoint December 77. Horrific torture, including the near drowning in the bathtub. Donnelly actually begged Gacy to kill him.
He reported it.
He did. But Gacy managed to talk his way out of it. Convinced the police it was just consensual slave sex gone wrong.
Unbelievable. No charges filed.
A massive missed opportunity. Peace might still be alive if they'd acted then.
And then Jeffrey Rignall, March 1978. His account gave specifics about the torture devices.
Rignall was chloroformed, tortured with lit candles, whips, restrained in a pillory device fixed to the ceiling. His testimony gave crucial details about the apparatus, corroborating the later discovery of that 2x4 board.
And Rignall insisted someone else was there.
Adamant. A young man with brown hair watched his torture. Further fuel for the accomplice theory.
After Gacy dumped Rignall in Lincoln Park, Rignall didn't give up.
No, he and his friends played detective. Tracked Gacy's distinctive black Oldsmobile back to the Summerdale address.
So Gacy was arrested for that assault.
Yes, that July. But again, his manipulation, his civic shield, he was released. The house was never searched. Another chance missed.
By mid-1978, things were getting physically impossible for Gacy inside the house.
The crawl space was literally full. Packed solid, 26 bodies, some stacked.
They couldn't hide them there anymore.
No. He apparently considered the attic, but worried about leakage, decomposition.
So his solution was desperate.
Switched to the river, discarding bodies off the I-55 bridge into the Des Plaines River. He claimed 5. 4 were recovered. Timothy O'Rourke, Frank Landingen, James Mazzara among them. That switch showed his meticulous system was finally collapsing under the sheer weight of his own violence.
The end didn't come with a sudden confession, did it? It came because one investigator was determined after a boy went missing, Robert Piest, December 11, 1978.
Piest was 15, working part-time at Nissan Pharmacy in Des Plaines. Gacy was there, supposedly talking about a remodeling contract.
But he made sure Piest overheard him.
Seems that way. Mentioned his firm, hired teenage boys, $5 an hour. Piest was excited, almost double his current pay.
His mother was there to pick him up. It was her birthday.
Yeah. Piest asked her to wait, just wanted to talk to the contractor quickly. That simple act. Telling his mom where he was going, who he was with, that became the crucial thread the police needed.
Piest was killed later that night at Gacy's house. And there's that chilling detail Gacy confessed about his compartmentalization during the murder itself.
He admitted later. He got a phone call while Piest lay dying on his floor. A business call.
And he took it.
Took the call, conducted his business, then went back to the horror. That's the ultimate mask insanity, isn't it? Flipping seamlessly between normal function and sadistic murder.
The investigation zeroed in on Gacy immediately because Piest's mother was insistent. Her son wasn't a runaway. She gave the name.
Lieutenant Joseph Kozenzak, he took it seriously, ran the background check, and boom, the 1968 Iowa sodomy conviction pops up.
Instantly changes everything.
Exactly. No longer just a missing person. Potential major crime involving a known sex offender.
Kozenzak moves fast, puts Gacy under 24-hour surveillance.
And for Gacy, the narcissist who craved control and attention, this became a game.
He must have felt the pressure, but he seemed to almost enjoy taunting them.
He absolutely did. Drove recklessly, trying to lose the tail cars, often succeeding. He'd invite the detectives following him, Albrecht and Hochmeister, for coffee, for breakfast, openly bragging.
In that line.
Reportedly told him, clowns can get away with murder. Just pure arrogance. Convinced his intelligence, his reputation, made him untouchable.
But despite the brazen attitude, the physical evidence was starting to mount up. That first search warrant, December 13th, didn't find Peace, but they found trophies.
A library of horror, really. Books on pederasty, porn films, police badges, a starting pistol, dildo, handcuffs, and crucially, that 2x4 restraint board.
And items linked to victims.
Yes, a blue parka and a Nissan pharmacy receipt, Peace's items, confirmed by his coworker, and a class ring, engraved JAS.
John Allen Zyke.
Quickly traced back to him, another missing young man. Plus, a search dog had a strong death reaction in Gacy's car trunk. Confirmed a body had been transported there.
So even without Peace, they knew they were dealing with a major predator.
Absolutely. But the house itself, the main stage, was still holding its secrets. The smell was there, but they couldn't pinpoint it.
This is where Gacy's business links back in, right? With the lime.
Yeah. They re-interviewed a former employee, Michael Rossi. He confessed Gacy had him buy and spread 10 bags of quicklime in the crawl space that summer.
Trying to control the odor, speed up decomposition. Desperate measures.
Totally. But the real tipping point, the moment they knew for sure where the bodies were, was almost accidental. A change in temperature and a toilet flush.
How did that happen?
During the setup for the second search warrant, an officer, Detective Schultz, noticed the house was warmer this time. He flushed a toilet, and instantly this rancid smell.
The smell of death.
Overwhelming. Wafted up strongly from a nearby heating duct. The warmth was pulling the decomposition gases up from the crawl space. That was it, the proof. The bodies weren't just in the river. They were right there, under their feet.
Gacy knew the game was up, drove to his lawyer, Sam Amarante, started drinking heavily, and then the confessions started pouring out.
Rambling, self-aggrandizing. Pointed to the newspaper article about Peace, said, "This boy is dead. He's dead. He's in a river."
Claimed he was the judge and jury.
The judge. Jury and executioner of many, many people. Pure arrogance. Called the victims hustlers, liars. Said he buried them because they were his property. Admitted to killing at least 30 people.
They needed to hold him while they got the final warrant for the house itself, so they arrested him on a minor charge.
Cannabis possession, just to keep him contained. When they went back with the warrant, December 21st, 1978, they found Gacy had pulled the plug on his sump pump.
Flooded the crawl space, trying to destroy evidence.
Maybe a final futile attempt. The scene must have been horrific. Evidence tech apart for best, Daniel Genty had to wait for the water to drain. Then crawled into that tiny space, 28 by 38 feet.
And started digging.
In the mud, the lime. Within minutes, uncovered putrefied flesh, a human arm bone. The realization hit him. He shouted out, "I think this place is full of kids."
Over the next week.
Painstakingly, they recovered 29 bodies from the property, different states of decomposition, sometimes layered vertically. Body 3, John Slakin, right on top of Body 4, Gregory Godzik. The suburban home literally converted floorboard by floorboard into a mass grave.
The trial starts February 1980, Gacy facing 33 counts of murder. The existence of the bodies wasn't in doubt, so the whole defense rested on insanity.
Entirely. They argued Gacy had multiple personality disorder. Said it stemmed from the abusive childhood, creating this alter ego they called Jack Hanley, or Bad Jack.
And this Jack committed the murders.
That was the claim.
Wow.
That Jack hated homosexuality, saw the victims as degraded scum, and killed them, while Gacy, the rational contractor, was dissociated, unaware. Gacy himself told defense psychiatrists he had 4 personalities: contractor, clown, politician, policeman.
So the prosecution's job was to prove he was sane, that he knew exactly what he was doing. They focused heavily on the mask itself.
They did. Pointed to his successful double life, the specific disposal methods, the attempts to shift blame, the calculated efforts to evade, capture taunting police, manipulating survivors.
All showing planning, compartmentalization, proof he knew right from wrong.
Exactly. He didn't just snap. He planned, executed, dominated.
And the forensic testimony from Dr. Robert Stein must have been just devastating for the jury.
Absolutely brutal. He detailed the horrific state of the remains. Markedly decomposed, putrefied, skeletalized remains. Confirmed ligature strangulation in multiple cases. And he forcefully shot down the defense idea of accidental erotic asphyxia, reinforced the calculated sadism.
And the survivors testified. Donnelly and Rignall.
They did. Deeply traumatized, obviously. But they took the stand. Recounted the torture. Gave the jury that first-hand view of Gacy's premeditated cruelty. The evidence was just overwhelming.
How long did the jury deliberate?
Only 1 hour, 50 minutes. Incredibly fast for such a complex case. Found him guilty, all 33 counts.
At the time, the most homicides by one person in U.S. legal history.
Sentenced to death.
Gacy spends 14 years on death row, Menard Correctional Center. And even facing execution, he keeps up the manipulation, the mask.
Never stopped. Filed massive appeals. Kept sticking to that absurd story. Only 5 murders were his, the other 28 were employees with keys, blaming others right to the very end.
And he took up painting.
Yeah, the ultimate expression of his narcissism. Painted clowns, Christ figures, Disney characters, turned his infamy into this controversial murderabilia. Clearly enjoyed the continued attention.
His execution, May 10th, 1994, Stateville Correctional Center. It didn't go smoothly.
No, it was botched. The lethal injection chemicals unexpectedly solidified, clogged the 5E tube.
So they had to stop.
Halt the procedure, close the curtains, replace the line. It dragged the whole thing out to 18 minutes. A grim end. Led to major changes in Illinois execution protocols afterward.
And his final words?
Reportedly, spoken to a prison official, just pure defiance. Kiss my ass.
After he died, they studied his brain.
Yes, Dr. Helen Morrison examined it, trying to find common traits among violent sociopaths. At Gacy's legacy, it goes beyond just his death or his brain.
There was that positive outcome, strangely enough, the legislative change.
In a really powerful twist, yeah. His own defense lawyer, Sam Amarante, was so affected by the case he helped push for changes. Procedures incorporated into the Missing Child Recovery Act of 1984.
That got rid of the 72-hour waiting period for missing kids in Illinois.
Exactly. That waiting period cost Peace his life. This act helped form the network that eventually became the Amber Alert system. Real, profound reform born from just unimaginable horror.
But the ghosts of that crawl space, they still linger. Decades later, 5 victims are still unidentified. Bodies 10, 13, 21, 26, and 28.
That's the enduring shadow, isn't it? These were young men Gacy deliberately picked from society's margins. Runaways, hustlers, kids whose families maybe weren't believed or weren't actively looking.
But there's still hope for them with new technology.
There is. The Cook County Sheriff's Office have been using modern forensics, DNA, genetic genealogy. They successfully identified James Hawkinson in 2017 and Francis Wayne Alexander in 2021. It shows that time doesn't have to be a barrier to getting answers, getting closure, however painful for these families.
Looking back at it all, from the abusive father to the botched execution, Gacy is just the ultimate terrifying lesson about appearances, isn't he? That need for approval drove him to get those civic titles, which gave him the perfect cover.
He is the absolute case study in the mask of sanity. His deep psychopathy, the need for control, the compartmentalization, the total lack of empathy let him function seamlessly. Civic leader and sadistic monster, side by side.
The fact that a man capable of that level of torture was also organizing block parties, entertaining kids as a clown, shaking the First Lady's hand.
It forces you to confront a really uncomfortable truth, doesn't it? Evil doesn't always announce itself. Often it wears the friendliest face. It thrives when we place unquestioning trust in those who seem respectable. The most terrifying monsters aren't always hiding in the dark shadows. Sometimes they're living right next door.
Okay, so we hope you liked our today's discussion. For more such discussions, subscribe to our channel, Phantom Homicide.